Good evening, YouTube. So, I made it last night here to New Kingston, Pennsylvania, which is near Carlisle, Mechanicsburg, Harrisburg, to the company yard. And so I got up this morning, I guess it was a little after 6, and went inside and told them that I needed a oil change. That's otherwise known as a B service. And to my surprise, they were able to get to it today. I was kind of expecting it to be backed up, but they actually got to it today. The guy came out about 9:30 this morning Eastern time and took the truck in the shop. So then the truck came out of the shop late this afternoon, and then at first, I looked and I couldn't find any empty trailers. And so then they came up with a load that was already loaded and dropped here on this yard. And it delivers to Columbus, Indiana, Monday morning. And so that's what I'll be doing tomorrow, basically, is driving from here to Columbus, Indiana. So I'm spending the night here at the yard. My parents called me a little bit earlier, and it turns out that my aunt was on my way. She was on her way over to my parents' house, because their RV is parked on my property, so it's actually my property. So she was waiting, kind of to turn into my driveway, and I live on a 2-lane state highway that gets, it's fairly busy. Sometimes there's a lot of traffic on that road. It's a fairly busy road. There are a lot of people that live along that road, and then plus there's a state park. Sometimes there's a tremendous amount of traffic. And so anyway, she was, it's 2 lanes, so she was waiting to turn into my driveway, and I guess there was oncoming traffic or something, and then the oncoming traffic went by, and so in the meantime she started to turn, but at the same time there was some kind of a truck. I'm assuming it was a flatbed truck of some sort that was behind her that had, it was loaded with some kind of tree limbs or whatever, and this is all kind of coming from my mother. She was telling the story on the phone. They were at the hospital. So anyway, there was some girl in some kind of a car coming along behind that, and so apparently she thought she was going to pass on the left, so that my aunt, then this small truck, and then the gal coming up behind, deciding she was going to, go around on the left. And of course, it was just as my aunt was turning, and so anyway, they ended up. My parents heard the bang, so that for them to hear the bang, and their RV, their motorhome sits back quite a ways. I've got a relatively long driveway. It's not terribly long, but it's relatively long. They heard a crash. They heard the noise, so it had to be pretty loud. So there's no telling how fast that gal was going. I'm thinking there's a possibility that she might have been texting or something, and she looked up and, I'm about to hit this, and she decided she couldn't stop, and so she decided to whip out in the left lane and pass, which that's, you can't do that. That's illegal. You're asking for trouble. If there's a vehicle, you come up on a 2-lane road and there's a vehicle stopped, especially if they've got their turn signals on, to turn left, you have to wait. You can't just pass on the left. You're asking for trouble. So I don't know, there's no telling if the gal was texting or... So anyway, my parents, they called an ambulance, and the ambulance came, and then there was the city police came, even though it was outside of the city limits. They came and helped, and then ultimately Arkansas Highway Patrol came and kind of finished the whole thing off, the accident. So the highway was blocked for a time until everything could be kind of towed away. So, but they didn't know too many details other than that. So they called me from the hospital. They'd been, and my aunt I guess she's got from what Mom said, they did an MRI, and she's got a couple of cracked vertebrae. which that's pretty serious in and of itself. So I don't know. I'm becoming of the opinion, that there's this idea that they're putting cameras in trucks. Now, of course, I've got my own camera, that faces forward. That I don't run it all the time, but I do run it a fair amount of the time, and that's just for my own. I don't really. What I like to do is periodically just capture some video from it, and then I can, if I have some interesting video, then I can do something with it, and that's primarily why I have it. But they're starting to put cameras. Trucking companies are starting to put cameras in trucks. Forward-facing camera plus a camera aimed at the driver. And at first I thought, well, that's a huge invasion of privacy. But on the other hand, I think I want to see it not only in trucks. I'm becoming an advocate of the idea that cameras get put in every vehicle. Private, doesn't matter. That should be mandatory. It should be a mandatory thing. It could be like a black box type thing that's continually recording. But I think that there should be a camera aimed at the driver. This stuff's cheap anymore. Camera aimed at the driver, camera aimed out the front, and maybe even the back, because they're going to mandate backup cameras anyway. I forget the model year, but it's coming up pretty soon. They're going to mandate backup cameras in new vehicles. So why not just go the whole way and mandate cameras? And maybe that's not going to stop all the texting, but it would wipe out part of it. The problem is, we've raised entire generations of people that have been spoiled. Their parents spoiled them. They've gotten whatever they wanted, and the parents really haven't loved them. Because you buy you think you're buying your kid the Xbox, or they've got their own television or their own computer. You're not really loving them. They need your time. They need your attention, instead of just here's the Xbox, or here's the TV, get out of my hair type of thing. So we've raised a generation, entire generations of people have been raised now that have no internal restraint. The internal restraints, otherwise known as morality or conscience, they're separated from that. They have no internal restraint. So therefore, if you have no internal restraint, then you have to have external restraint. And that's, we've got modern technology. Let's do the external restraint with monitoring. Put people on camera. If they're driving, you're on the public roadway, you should be on camera. And if you get caught texting, it's your ass, pardon the French. So I think that cameras should be mandated in all vehicles, and that's going to be a part of the price of the vehicle. If it makes the price of the vehicle go up, too bad. Have some, you've lost your self-restraint, and there's no way of getting it back. The only way to, if you force people, kind of like after Hurricane Katrina, New Orleans, you saw the people carrying the TV sets on, walking through floodwaters carrying TV sets, and there's no electricity to run them, looting the stores. There was no, all of a sudden there was no threat of law, and so these people just ran wild. And so that's basically what we're experiencing now, especially on the roadways. And so something has to be done. It's because this is really kind of becoming rampant. People, they think they can text or whatever, and then that's another thing. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and they're all kind of talking about, and the iPhone, and it's too big to use with one hand. Well, why the hell are you trying to use your phone with one hand? Because you're probably driving along, and I have to be able to send the text and do it with one hand. That's what I think. Otherwise you can use two hands. Why do you need to use your phone with one hand? Every time they start talking about that, I know what they're doing. Even though they say, I wouldn't text and drive. Oh, no, not me. So this gal today that hit my aunt could have been, she, looking down, and then all of a sudden, oh, shit, there's the thing. I better dart around on the left. Guarantee you that's what happened. because the traffic goes whizzing by out. That's a 2-lane state highway right there, and they go 50, 60 miles an hour, sometimes even faster. And there's a lot of traffic on that road, and then a lot of times you get swarms of bicycles. You get the people from the university riding their bicycles out to the state park, because it's a pretty drive, but it's really a dangerous road for bicycles to be on. It's just 2 lanes, and it's steep, and parts of it are fairly steep, and it's winding, and it's got curves and limited visibility and a lot of traffic on it. That's just asking for trouble. So my solution, you can't force people to be moral. The only way you can kind of force people to do the right thing is by monitoring them, and put a camera up. Let's put cameras in all vehicles. Mandate it. I'm dead serious about it. It should be mandated. The hell with privacy. If you want privacy, you have to be able to demonstrate that you're responsible. Because if you can't be responsible, if you have no internal restraint, you have nothing to restrain you internally, then you don't deserve to have privacy. I'm sorry. You don't deserve it. You deserve to be monitored. You deserve to be dictated to. So, anyway, on that happy note from, where am I at? Still at New Kingston, Pennsylvania. I'll catch you later.